You're listening to me, Manny Masseh. If you do want to get in touch with me, you can do. You can text me first, though, if you like, on 81333. Type in the word Manny first, though, M-A-N-N-Y. Maybe you'd like to talk about Indian art, because we're talking about it. Back in the 19th century, wealthy British collectors were so captivated by India's landscapes, people and architecture, of course, they wanted to capture that as well, that they commissioned artists to capture it all in exquisite detail. Now, those paintings are now known as Indian Company School artworks, and they're still highly sought after, often fetching impressive prices at auction. Now, a number of these remarkable pieces have recently appeared for sale in Somerset, which got us curious to dig deeper into their history and significance. Well, Ashley Innes, an expert in Asian art, who has written extensively about Indian Company School works for the Art Advisory Group, and is here with me now to shed some light on them. Ashley, welcome to the programme.
Good evening, Manny. Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me, sort of, obviously back in the 19th century, India was sort of ruled by the British to a certain extent. But tell me about that. How did it all come about? Why did they want to capture all this?
Yes, absolutely. So the Indian Company School is a term that refers to a specific genre. It's associated with the East India Company, and it means a broad genre of artworks depicting scenes of India. This could be a very, very wide range of things. It's typically most commonly paintings, but it can be drawings and prints as well. So the main criterion is that it has to have been created in India and commissioned by the British, intended for British audiences.
And why are they so expensive then? Because why are they sought after?
Well, there's a very wide range. They can be at a very accessible price point. Sometimes they can only be a couple of £100 at the lower end. But you're right, they absolutely can be extremely expensive, sometimes up to about £1 million, but everything in between as well. I think they're so expensive, they can be, because there's great historical interest, there's aesthetic interest, but mainly the historical interest because it captures a very unique moment or series of moments in time, especially for the British market. So I would say the biggest market for company school artworks would be in London, probably followed by New York and Paris.
Yeah, I mean, you've sent us one of the paintings, this particular works featuring British officials with Indian attendants, such as European by a river, from 1765. They wouldn't have had cameras in those days to capture all this. It's a great way of capturing something, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You've brought up such a great point, and that's why there were so many of these paintings and artworks. You have to really try to adopt the mindset, put yourself in the shoes of the people living in this time period. There were no TikTok reels, no Instagram posts, no emails. Really, these types of artworks were the best resource that people had, especially British people living in India, to be able to share a little slice of what their life was like back with their family and friends back at home.
One of the things I notice on the picture is that you've got the European officer, by the looks of things, is very tall, but the Indian person next to him is very short.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's kind of one of the reasons why I selected it. So basically, there are different types of company school artworks, and one of the big types is not exactly portraiture, although that does exist too, but something that would depict daily life scenes. And one of the big things that you have to remember when looking at this type of artwork is that it's not an objective depiction. It's very much subjective. So like I mentioned earlier, it was commissioned by British people, created for British people, mainly with British audiences. So yeah, it's not realistic at all, and you do have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It's less so with other types of company school paintings. So there's a lot of flora and fauna, a lot of architecture, landscapes, but definitely it tends to get a bit murkier when there are people depicted.
So I'm just sort of wondering, the artists who did this, you wouldn't know the artists, would you? Because they wouldn't have written their signatures on there.
There are a lot of company school works that have named artists. This particular one is anonymous.
And of course, they would, like you said, because they were doing it for the British, they would have looked at it from the British point of view. They didn't want to get into trouble, and they wanted to get paid. They do it from their perspective.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to think about who made it and who it's for.
Yeah. What about the cost of it? I mean, how much would that sell for then? Something like that.
Well, you have to think about the types of tastes back then and the market and the appetite today. I think that sort of painting holds more historical value. Today, the types of works that are more expensive are often the flora and fauna or the architecture. One of the most common, or one of the most popular pairs of artists were Thomas Daniel and William Daniel. They were British and they were active in the second half of the 18th century. And they came over from England to paint and do aqua tints of a lot of architecture and scenes. So those can be some of the really most expensive ones today, hundreds of thousands of pounds. Obviously, they do have more accessible price points for those artists as well, but that's a really popular subsection of the market. And then, a lot of works from the Impey collection, which was a Calcutta collection of flora and fauna. Those have achieved hundreds of thousands of pounds at auction over the last decade as well.
And can we see any of this artwork anywhere?
Yes, absolutely. They are in a lot of museums. They are in galleries as well, and auction houses. So I would say probably the greatest concentration anywhere in the world outside of India would be in London. So you can go to the big auction houses periodically when they have sales. You can go to Sotheby's, Christie's, Bonhams. A lot of people don't realize this, but you don't have to be registered to bid to go view. They have exhibitions before the sales where anyone can go in and view them and sometimes handle them depending on what type of object it is. So that's a great way to build your knowledge base. And then museums, of course, and there are some throughout England. Some have bigger collections than others, but I am aware that at Bristol there are some from the 19th century of daily Indian life scenes. So depicting people and animals. I think there are at least one or two of birds.
And what about, are they oil paintings?
They can be, yes, and they're very often drawings or prints as well.
Right, okay. And what's happened? I mentioned the Indian Company School artwork. What's happened to that?
Sorry, come again?
The Indian Company School artwork I mentioned earlier on. Was that a company that sort of dealt with this artwork?
Yes, very often. So sometimes they were British artists and sometimes they were local artists, local Indian artists. So in the beginning, it was just British artists from the East India Company. So the two main demographics here tended to be collectors and information gatherers. So the collectors tended to be people who did it more for the joy of the collecting and the joy of the knowledge. And the information gatherers tended to be people who worked for the East India Company or who worked for the military in some sort of capacity, and they would be cataloging the things that they found, what they thought to be the company's assets.
And actually, why did you get interested in Asian art then, generally?
Oh, I absolutely love it. So I studied at SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies. And I was able to visit India as a child when I was 13. I went all around Rajasthan and just absolutely love it so much. I'm from San Francisco originally, and I think we're very spoiled having the Asian Art Museum there.
Right, brilliant. Well, look, Ashley, thank you very much for explaining all that to us. And let's hope we can all go and watch, have a look at some of these artwork, works that are available for us to see. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.